So this summer I started playing a game that you all have probably heard of by now called Life is Strange, and it was mind-blowing. But I figured with the full version disc coming out recently on PS4, now might be a good time to kind of look at the reasons it kept me rooted to the couch all weekend every single time a new episode came out. Real quick though, I do want to go over some of the shortcomings this game does have. I personally wasn't bothered by them, but I have seen people give the game really critical marks over things like
over-the-shoulder camera, to which I say, meh, this isn't a combat-based game, so it really doesn't make that much of a difference. Bad graphics, which is fair, and as a voice actress, I can't really lie and say those lip flaps don't bother me.
The thing is that you're safe, and I know you can take care of yourself after Nathan.
Should've.
Poorly written dialogue. I mean...
Please understand, Max. The only place I can be myself is in the dark room.
Who the hell says that? Still, all those things aside, I think Life is Strange is still the most immersive, touching experience I've had with a game in a very, very long time. The story was exciting, the characters were lovable, and hot damn, that music.
I know that it is freezing, but I think we have to walk. I keep waving at the taxis, they keep turning their lights off.
The biggest reason I'd recommend you play Life is Strange if you haven't yet is that it's a very believable game. Even with the aforementioned flaws occasionally pulling me out of the experience, I still felt like I was Max, not like I was merely controlling her. Even though I've never been able to manipulate time, I really got the experience of being a high schooler again, in a way. Which is really the bulk of what I wanted to address in this video. It's very rare that high school movies and games handle teen issues in a realistic way. By that I mean, I've rarely seen an adult's recreation of how they remember high school created in such a way that really speaks to what we all felt we were experiencing at that point in our lives. Basically, they're written in a way that makes it really obvious it's being written from an adult perspective, either through making fun of the characters' experiences through melodrama, or making every moment of the experience so saturated with drama that even the comic relief moments smack of teen angst. It's true that Life is Strange deals with extremely mature dramatic themes such as suicide, sexual assault, divorce, and death, but it deals with them in an extremely reverent way. The writers don't try to trivialize Chloe's feelings by making her sound whiny. Max and Chloe don't have those painfully cliched, "But Daddy, I love him!" moments for their romantic attraction to come across in a tender but obvious way. Playing the game as an adult, it's easy to see that part of the struggles the characters have come from that last bit of naivety everyone has on the cusp of adulthood. But the game doesn't degrade the characters or the audience to get that across. It allows the player to have their emotional experience free of judgment. Which brings me to the reality of the teen experience. Again, this game covers some very dark subject matter, but unlike other pieces of media that might cover some of the same topics, it doesn't make life appear to be this never-ending torrent of despair in which those issues are the only thing defining the characters. The puns Max makes for Warren during chemistry class are awful, but it's one of my favorite scenes because it shows that even in the middle of a tragedy or a mystery, there's still times that tragedy can be forgotten, even just for a moment, which makes the game feel more like real life. And this is just one example. The game manages to slip in all kinds of moments like this, from Max's internal monologues, to text messages, to interactions with minor characters. Just scenes of everyday life, or of learning about the characters as they existed before the game's starting point. Another huge reason I love this game is because it stars interesting female protagonists, but doesn't require you to be a female to enjoy it. It's a big argument in the gaming community, whether or not a game starring a female protagonist would be at all enjoyable or relatable to male-identifying individuals. Something this game does incredibly well is addressing female issues, like the cattiness that happens between girls at that age, or the fear of sexual violence, without isolating men from the experience. There were times I was playing this game with my fiancé in the room, and he was as invested in Max's fate as I was. I think this is in part because it gives a more universal high school experience as well, simply through the kinds of emotions it forces you to feel. It can remind you of a time in your life when you thought you were destined for great things, but you weren't sure you were capable, or weren't sure how to get there. There are moments of helplessness and moments of elation, sometimes within minutes of each other. The beginning of the game makes you feel invincible, which only makes the moments later on when you feel vulnerable that much more terrifying. And I think at times that can be what it's like to be a teenager. And sure, I know the plot isn't in and of itself believable, but if the plot didn't raise those stakes and make every detail feel extremely significant, if it wasn't such a fantastical story, it wouldn't really capture the feeling of being stuck in that place between childhood and adulthood nearly as well for an adult audience.
So yeah, I'd recommend Life is Strange for a number of reasons. I'd recommend it for its interesting gameplay and completely unique and fascinating characters. I'd recommend it for its badass soundtrack and for its beautifully unique story. I'd definitely recommend it for the emotional roller coaster it takes you on. But above all else, I'd honestly recommend it for reminding you of the best and worst parts of high school you probably forgot about better than anything ever could. Join me next time for an in-depth look at some of the characters in this game, and of course, if you found this video interesting, subscribe to my channel for more videos like it, and like this video to make it official. And that's about it. I hope you guys see me again soon!